Have you ever caught yourself blowing up over something that, looking back, seems utterly trivial? Maybe it's a slow driver blocking your way, someone cutting in line, or a small mistake that sends your mood spiraling. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. The challenge of managing anger over minor annoyances is a universal human struggle. But here's the good news. You can change this. You can train your mind to respond with calm instead of chaos. The Stoics, ancient philosophers who mastered emotional resilience, taught that it's not external events that disturb us, but our judgments about those events. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Today, we'll explore 13 practical steps inspired by this timeless wisdom, helping you break free from getting angry at stupid things and take control of your emotional life. Let's begin. Number 1, recognize your triggers. The first step is awareness. Anger often feels like it comes out of nowhere, but it always has a trigger. Maybe it's a rude comment, a technical glitch, or just a traffic jam. Seneca reminded us, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Many triggers are amplified in our minds before we even react. Start by noticing what specifically sets off your anger. When you catch a trigger, pause and take note. This awareness creates a gap between stimulus and reaction, a space where you gain control instead of being controlled. However, detecting triggers involves more than simply identifying the obvious irritants that cause a reaction. In other words, it means becoming aware of your internal responses, such as the slight strain in your chest, the tightening of your jaw, and the acceleration of your breathing. The first stage of anger is frequently a whisper, followed by a roar. If you are able to see these early warning signs sooner, you will be in a better position to take a step back. This type of conscious vigilance was something that Marcus Aurelius taught himself, which serves as a reminder that the mind can be trained in the same way that a soldier is educated to prepare for battle. We begin to understand that rage is not a reflex that occurs automatically. Rather, it is a decision that we make when we observe our emotional reactions in real time. You have the option of going in a different direction. Make an effort to keep a mental or physical record of your triggers for a period of several days. Exist any recurring themes, particular circumstances, or individuals who consistently cause you to feel frustrated? It's possible that the fire is going to be fueled not only by the external incident, but also by your own expectations and assumptions. Understanding this link is of the utmost urgency. As soon as you locate the root, you can start the process of untangling it. When you engage in the practice of attentive recognition, you are not criticizing yourself or punishing yourself for becoming upset. It's about cultivating an attitude of curiosity and compassion toward your own conscious mind. In the same way that a scientist would observe an experiment, you are only collecting data about the things that make you angry and the reasons behind them. Over the course of time, this increasing awareness lays the groundwork for successful emotional mastery. The gap that exists between the stimulus and the response becomes your refuge. It is a place where you can cultivate calmness, clarity, and choice. Beginning from this point, each subsequent stage in anger management becomes less difficult and more successful. Number 2, breathe deeply before reacting. When anger rises, our bodies go into fight or flight mode, making it hard to think clearly. The Stoics didn't have modern breathing techniques, but they emphasized the importance of rational control. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Use slow, deep breathing to calm your nervous system. Breathe in through your nose for 4 seconds, hold for 4, then exhale slowly for 6. This simple act slows your heart rate and calms your mind, giving you space to respond wisely instead of reacting impulsively. The research that underpins this is absolutely intriguing. An increase in the levels of adrenaline and cortisol, which are hormones that prepare you to either fight or escape, is triggered by the sympathetic nervous system when anger is triggered. The muscles in your body tighten up, your pulse beats faster, your breathing becomes shallow and rapid, and your brain's reasoning stops in favor of quick, intuitive action. There is a possibility that this response assisted our ancestors in surviving physical attacks. Nevertheless, in modern times, it frequently causes us to overreact to very trivial difficulties. This is where taking slow, deep breaths comes in handy. Your heart rate will slow down, your blood pressure will drop, and your muscles will relax as a result of this activation of the parasympathetic nervous system, sometimes known as the rest and digest mode. You are able to slow down your thoughts and restore clarity as a result of this physical shift, which notifies your brain that the threat is not an urgent one. In addition to its biological benefits, deep breathing can also be used as a mental tool. Your attention is compelled to be directed toward the here and now, namely the rhythm of your breathing. The cycle of rumination and spiraling thoughts that feed anger can be broken by the practice of mindfulness, which is a simple practice. In order to prevent oneself from being carried away by your feelings, you firmly establish yourself in the present moment. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, would frequently remind himself for the purpose of maintaining control over his mind and emotions. When you come to terms with this, you will discover your strength. This ability can be exercised in a real way during times of stress by taking deep breaths throughout the day. Try doing this the next time you catch yourself feeling irritated. Count your breaths in silence. Take a breath in for 4, hold it for 4, and then exhale for 6. While you are doing this, pay attention to the sensations that are occurring in your body, such as the cool air entering your nose, the gentle expansion of your chest, and the gradual release of tension as you blow out your breath. Your rage response will be interrupted by this focus, and you will be given the essential space to select how you will react. Through consistent practice, this breathing method will eventually become a habit. At the same time that your mind develops the habit of pausing before reacting, your body learns to calm itself more rapidly. Your ability to change the natural fight-or-flight response from a potentially harmful trigger into a signal to slow down and think clearly is a significant accomplishment. Breathing deeply is, in essence, your own personal reset button. It is always available and always gives you power. Your ability to regain your composure and respond with wisdom rather than frustration is made possible by this bridge between unfiltered feelings and conscious control. Number 3, question your anger. Next, challenge your anger. Ask, is this really worth my time and energy? Marcus Aurelius reflected often on the fleeting nature of troubles. When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. Letting anger steal your peace over small things is a misuse of that precious gift. Remind yourself that anger rarely changes anything for the better. Instead, it consumes your energy and clouds your judgment. This mental pause helps you disarm anger's power. The moment you take a moment to halt and question your anger, you are breaking free from the automatic loop that so many people find themselves stuck in. Many times, anger is a knee-jerk reaction, which is a rapid emotional response that does not take into consideration the repercussions, or the reason. On the other hand, you have the potential to slow down this reaction, to take a step back and examine what is actually taking place beneath the surface. Question yourself, what is it that I am truly upset about? It could be the event itself, my expectations, my concerns, or my impression that I have been treated unfairly. Anger frequently serves as a cover for more profound emotions, such as hurt, frustration, or powerlessness. Having a better understanding of the true cause of your anger makes it easier to move forward and reduces its grip on you. Epictetus, another important Stoic writer, had the idea that human pain is not caused by the events themselves, but rather by our interpretations of what those circumstances include. According to what he said, men are disturbed not by things, but by the views that they take of things about things. In other words, your anger is not a direct result of the events that transpired, but rather of how you interpret those events. You might start to modify such meanings by questioning the rage that you are experiencing. It's possible that the unpleasant comment wasn't intended to signify anything to you personally, and that the delay wasn't done on purpose. This adjustment does not deny your feelings. Rather, it places them in a manner that is more balanced of perspective. The inquiry, will this matter in a week, a month, or a year, is another powerful question to pose. The fleeting nature of the majority of issues was something that Marcus Aurelius reminded himself of continually. It is possible to lessen the significance of minor annoyances and reduce the emotional response you have to them by acknowledging the temporary influence they have. Also, take into consideration the price that anger costs. What do you stand to lose by harboring your anger? Mental clarity, mental peace, relationships, and even health can sometimes be found in peace of mind. Anger is a burden that is difficult to bear, and when it is directed toward insignificant concerns, it is an unneeded burden. You are able to reclaim your power by pausing from your anger and questioning it. You no longer allow yourself to be carried away by your emotional narrative. Rather, you take control of it. Through consistent practice of this mental discipline, rage can be transformed from a destructive force into a signal that invites introspection and personal development. Keep in mind that the objective is not to stifle anger, but rather to change it, which is to respond intentionally rather than reacting without thinking. You are getting closer to mastering your emotions and living a life that is more peaceful and liberating with each instant that you question your rage. Number 4, practice empathy. Anger often comes from seeing others as obstacles or irritants. But what if you saw them as people with struggles and reasons behind their actions? Seneca taught, whenever you are angry, be assured that it is not only a present evil, but also a greater one to come. Often, anger builds from misunderstanding. Practice empathy by imagining the other person's perspective. Maybe they're having a bad day, or they don't realize how their actions affect you. This shift softens your heart and opens the door to compassion instead of fury. When it comes to changing anger, empathy is one of the most powerful weapons because it eliminates the us versus them mentality that frequently serves as a source of aggravation. If we only consider other people to be a source of aggravation, then our emotional defenses will increase and we will engage in reactive behavior. But putting oneself in their position completely alters the situation. Take into consideration the fact that every individual you meet is carrying a tale that is full of unmentioned difficulties, worries, and suffering. It is possible that the coworker who yelled at you is unable to cope with the pressure of meeting deadlines, or that the driver who cut you off is in a hurry to get to an emergency. Despite the fact that this does not justify impolite or irresponsible behavior, it does change the situation from one of personal attack to one of human complexity. Seneca had a good understanding of this. He cautioned that anger is detrimental not only to the present but also to the future, since it impairs our judgment and creates a toxic environment for our relationships. Putting empathy into practice allows you to break this loop. Instead of viewing the person solely as an adversary, you start to see them as a whole, flawed but human-like. This way of thinking is consistent with the teachings of Epictetus, which state, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." By demonstrating compassion and empathy toward other people, you can bring down the temperature of your own emotions and safeguard your peace of mind. Patience is another trait that is fostered by empathy. If you remind yourself that others are imperfect and often oblivious of the influence they have, it will be much simpler for you to forgive little mistakes. In this way, when you forgive someone, you are not condoning their behavior. Rather, you are releasing yourself from the burden of harboring animosity. The next time you find yourself becoming angry, give this exercise a try. Ask yourself in a quiet voice, what could this person possibly be going through right now? Give oneself permission to take into account their circumstance in a sincere manner without making any hasty judgments. Your heart will become more compassionate simply by asking questions, even if the answer is not entirely clear. Empathy has the ability to rearrange your emotional reactions over time. Rather than reacting to aggravation with additional irritation, you reply with understanding or a calm distance toward the situation. This does not mean that you become a doormat. Rather, it indicates that you prioritize peace over conflict that is not necessary. When all is said and done, empathy is a means of reclaiming your power. Changing your perspective from one of victimhood to one of compassion and turning anger into a chance for connection and growth are both outcomes of this process. Marcus Aurelius gave the following piece of advice. Whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself the following question. What fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I am about to criticize? A vital antidote to rage is humility, which can be fostered through this introspection. Number 5. Use humor to diffuse anger. Laughter is a powerful antidote to anger. Marcus Aurelius himself found humor in human folly, writing with a gentle irony about the absurdity of many things that upset us. When you feel your anger rising, try to find something funny in the situation, even if it's just the fact that you're getting worked up over something so small. Humor shifts your focus and lightens your mood, breaking anger's hold and allowing you to breathe more easily. The reason that humor is effective is that it breaks the habit of negative thinking that is the source of anger. On the other hand, when you look at a problem from a ridiculous perspective, it no longer feels as intimidating or overpowering. It's like lowering the volume on a vehement voice that's been going on inside your head for a long time. Imagine that you are late for an important meeting because you are still delayed in traffic. As an alternative to allowing your aggravation to build up, try visualizing the automobiles as a procession that moves slowly, or imagining yourself as the most composed person in a comedy sketch. Despite the fact that the situation has not changed, your response has. Marcus Aurelius frequently employed comedy as a means of reminding himself of the transience of life and the insignificance of many of his concerns. In his writing, he discussed the theater of life, in which everyone performs their part, frequently in a manner that is clumsy or silly. When you look at life through this lens, you are instead encouraged to laugh at the turmoil rather than to become angry about it. Additionally, humor stimulates various regions of the brain, which in turn leads to relaxation and the release of endorphins, which are the natural chemicals that make us feel good. Not only does this cause you to feel better in the present moment, but it also helps you develop emotional resilience over time. An additional Stoic, Seneca, had the belief that the wise man laughs at what they cannot change. A foundational component of emotional mastery is acceptance, which is shown in this attitude. When you are able to laugh at the things that frustrate you, you are able to recognize the boundaries of your control and liberate yourself from suffering that is not necessary. Just because you use humor does not mean that you are suppressing your feelings or behaving ridiculous all the time. Developing the ability to perceive things from a variety of angles and not taking everything so seriously are both important aspects of this. Bringing a sense of humor to even the most trying of situations is a skill that is both subtle and effective. When you sense anger rising up inside of you, take a moment to pause and attempt to find the humor in the situation. Perhaps it's the irony of how worked up you are becoming. Or perhaps it's the peculiar method in which the scenario started to develop. Simply letting out a short chuckle can help you feel more at ease and release the grip that anger has on you. Number 6, shift your focus to solutions. Rather than stewing in frustration, ask yourself, what can I do to improve this? Epictetus emphasized focusing on what's within your control. Anger often stems from fixating on what you can't change. Redirect your energy to action steps, however small. Whether it's politely asking for help, fixing a problem, or simply accepting the situation, moving towards solutions helps restore your sense of control and calms your mind. Because it pulls you out of a state of helplessness and into a state of empowerment. This transformational shift from problem-focused aggravation to solution-oriented action is a revolutionary transformation. Angry people have a tendency to get stuck in a cycle of complaining and resistance. But when you ask yourself, what can I do? You give yourself the opportunity to regain control over your life. Epictetus is credited with teaching that we ought to differentiate between events that we are able to control and those that we are unable to influence. It is not worth wasting emotional energy on things that are beyond our control, such as the views of other people, natural occurrences, or mistakes we have made in the past. On the other hand, it is more beneficial to direct your focus toward your own thoughts, behaviors, and attitudes. For instance, if you are upset because a colleague missed a deadline, rather than wallowing in bitterness, you could ask yourself, is it possible for me to communicate my requirements in a more clear and concise manner? Can I make changes to my schedule? Is it possible for me to reorganize or delegate tasks? Movement and stress relief can be achieved with even minute modifications. When one adopts a proactive mindset, the sensation of being a victim of one's circumstances is diminished. Regaining your control and regaining your peace of mind is possible when you accept responsibility for your answer. Furthermore, the Stoic tenet of amor fati, which translates to loving your fate, is consistent with the solution-oriented approach. This does not mean being passive. Rather, it means accepting whatever life throws at you and figuring out how to react in the most effective way. It's about viewing obstacles as chances for personal development and expanding one's knowledge. When all else fails, acceptance is often the best approach. Accepting a circumstance with grace is an act of strength in and of itself, especially when it is a circumstance that cannot be changed. According to a quote attributed to Marcus Aurelius, "Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs." Through this acceptance, you are able to release your mind to find calm and cease wasting energy on resistance that is pointless. You should thus take a moment to halt and ask yourself, what can I do right now to improve or accept this situation? The next time you feel anger mounting, take your anger and transform it into helpful steps or a peaceful acceptance of the situation. By making this transition, you can break free from the hold that rage has on you and establish emotional resilience that will last for a long time. Number 7, remind yourself of the big picture. Anger can feel overwhelming in the moment, but often these small annoyances vanish into insignificance with time. Marcus Aurelius urged himself, "Don't let your imagination be crushed by life as a whole." Don't try to picture everything bad that could possibly happen. Ask yourself, will this matter in a day, a week, or a year? Shifting to this big picture perspective reduces the emotional charge and makes small irritations easier to bear. Several of the things that irritate you suddenly become less significant when you take a step back and look at your life in a broader light. Some of the transitory events that occur in the grand narrative of your existence include an unpleasant comment, missing the bus, and spilling coffee. Stoicism teaches us to view life as a seemingly endless stream of moments that are all connected to one another. The idea that everything is ephemeral and subject to change was something that Marcus Aurelius frequently focused on, and he reminded himself of this fact. Because of this awareness, the discomfort caused by fleeting frustrations is mitigated. One way to achieve emotional distance is to question oneself how much of an impact a certain issue will have in the long run. By adopting this point of view, you can protect yourself from impulsive reactions that could be detrimental to your mental well-being. Additionally, looking about things in terms of the bigger picture is a great way to inspire patience. Not a single obstacle or annoyance can define your day or your life, and this helps you realize that. On the contrary, it is merely a single thread that is woven into the wider fabric of your entire life. Additionally, this way of thinking encourages humility. One way to lessen the feeling of being insulted or treated unfairly is to acknowledge that the annoyance you are experiencing right now is only a little part of a much broader story. Having this experience serves as a reminder that life is full of both highs and lows, and that the key to resilience is learning to accept both. We should remind ourselves on a daily basis of the limitations of our control and the transient character of the events that occur in the outside world, as Epictetus recommended. Your mental toughness will improve as a result of this daily reminder, which will enable you to maintain your composure even when confronted with situations that are frustrating. Through actual practice, you are able to construct your very own mental big picture checklist. When you feel rage rising, take a moment to pause and ask yourself, will this matter tomorrow? Is it the following week? Is it the next year? The answer is almost always negative, and the understanding that this is the case is sufficient to reduce the level of rage. When you remind yourself on a frequent basis of the wider picture, your emotional reactions will be rewired more effectively over time. As you adopt a more balanced and tranquil approach to life's obstacles, the power of minor annoyances begins to diminish. To put it simply, the big picture perspective serves as your emotional compass, directing you away from exaggerated reactions and toward a more measured and calm manner of approaching life. Number 8, create a personal mantra. A simple phrase repeated in moments of anger can anchor your mind. Stoics practiced mental rehearsals and affirmations to prepare themselves. Create your own calming mantra, something like "this will pass" or I control my mind, not events. Repeat it silently to center yourself when you feel anger bubbling up. This habit retrains your brain to respond with calmness rather than reactivity. The power of a mantra lies in the fact that it is both straightforward and repeated. A person's mind is likely to be racing with powerful thoughts when they are experiencing anger. Some examples of these thoughts include, "This is unfair," "I can't believe this is happening," and "Why does this always happen to me?" These ideas contribute fuel to the flames. One can break that loop by reciting a personal mantra. Marcus Aurelius used the practice of writing affirmations in his meditations on a regular basis as a means of calming his mind. He was aware of the fact that the mind is receptive to being reminded on a regular basis of things that are beneficial and true. You are able to retrain your emotional responses by repeatedly repeating a word that is calming and anchoring. Choose a mantra that speaks to you on a personal level, one that serves as a reminder of your capacity to maintain composure and make a conscious decision about how you will respond. It is possible that you will come up with a phrase on your own, or it could be a phrase that is inspired by Stoic wisdom, such as Epictetus's statement, "It is not things that upset us, but our judgments about things." You can use your mantra as a mental anchor to draw yourself back from the brink of rage and into a position of centeredness when you are experiencing moments of aggravation. You can think of it as a gentle command to your brain, saying, "Pause, think about it, respond with wisdom." This activity, when repeated over time, creates a brain pathway that leads to tranquility. The mantra will eventually become associated with emotional regulation in your brain, which will make it much simpler for you to attain that calm state whenever anger begins to come up. Mindfulness can also be developed through the use of mantras. You are encouraged to become cognizant of your inner condition and to intentionally direct your thoughts through this practice. This attention is the foundation upon which emotional mastery is built. In addition to when you are feeling furious, you can practice your mantra at any moment. Recite it whenever you wish to build a serene mindset, whether it be during times of stress, before engaging in difficult conversations, or at any other time. Through consistent practice, you will develop a more natural sense of calm. In day-to-day living, this mental habit serves as a formidable line of defense. Your relationship with anger will shift from one of automatically reacting to one of consciously choosing to be angry as a result of this. Your mind is being trained to respond with strength and calm, and you are doing this. Therefore, the next time you feel annoyance welling up inside of you, quietly repeat your mantra. Allow it to serve as a source of grounding and a reminder of your ability to exert control over your thinking and, by extension, your life. Number 9. Take a walk or physical break. Physical movement helps release tension that builds with anger. Epictetus advised caring for your body as a companion to your mind. When you feel overwhelmed, step outside, stretch, or go for a walk. Moving away from the situation allows your body to settle and your mind to reset. Even a few minutes can make a big difference in how you feel. When rage takes hold, the body frequently becomes a battlefield for the conflict. Physical manifestations of stress include a tightening of the muscles, a pounding of the heart, and a quickening of the breath. These are all symptoms that feed the emotional tempest. It is possible to break this loop by engaging various systems in your brain and body, such as by going on a walk or simply exercising your body by moving around. Walking, particularly outside, provides a one-of-a-kind concoction of breathing in clean air, being surrounded by natural scenery, and engaging in rhythmic activity that helps to soothe the nervous system. your attention is diverted away from the source of the aggravation, and your mind is given the opportunity to roam into more tranquil area as a result. Researchers have found that even brief periods of walking can lower levels of the hormone cortisol, which is associated with feelings of stress and anger. It was Epictetus's belief that the mind and body should be in harmony with one another, and he taught that taking care of one helps the other. You offer your brain the opportunity to analyze feelings with greater clarity when you physically remove yourself from a situation that is distressing. It is crucial to maintain this distance because anger frequently distorts perception, making situations appear to be more significant than they actually are. Even the most basic stretches have the ability to alleviate physical tension and transmit messages to the brain that are relaxing. You can try rolling your shoulders, elevating your arms above your head, or gently twisting your torso to achieve the desired effect. Resetting your body's stress reaction and reminding you to breathe more deeply are both accomplished through these simple actions. These breaks, in addition to the immediate benefits to one's physical health, serve as a ritual of self-care and helps one to regulate their emotions. They communicate to your brain that you are taking charge of the situation and are not giving in to the impulse of rage. Long-term resistance to stress and anger can be developed by the practice of regular physical activity, which can take the form of walking, yoga, or any other movement that you find enjoyable by the individual. Your mood is improved as a result of the release of endorphins, which are the natural feel-good chemicals produced by the brain. This helps you maintain a more balanced emotional state. So the next time you feel that rage is about to take over your life, don't just try to push through it. While you are standing, exercise your body, and if you are able to, go outside. Please give yourself permission to take a moment to breathe, stretch, and reset. Even just 5 minutes can completely alter the trajectory of your emotional state and provide you with the level of clarity necessary to respond with composure and wisdom. Number 10. Limit exposure to stressors. Sometimes, repeated exposure to certain people or environments triggers unnecessary anger. The Stoics valued setting boundaries to protect their tranquility. Seneca said, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you. If possible, reduce your contact with consistently toxic or irritating influences." Protecting your mental space is a form of self-respect and an important step toward lasting calm. On the journey to emotional mastery, one of the most important insights gained is the ability to recognize when particular relationships or events consistently generate rage. Despite the fact that life will invariably provide us with difficulties, we do have the ability to choose the people we associate with and the places we live in. The counsel that Seneca gave, which was to surround yourself with people who inspire you, is just as applicable now as it was so many centuries ago. It is possible for toxic relationships, whether they are at work, with friends, or even with family, to behave like a gradual drip of irritation that eventually builds up into chronic anger or resentment with time. It is not an act of selfishness to establish limits. Rather, it is an act of wisdom and self-care. It sends a message that your mental well-being is important to you and that you will not allow yourself to be emotionally exhausted by negative thoughts. This could entail reducing the amount of time spent with particular individuals, avoiding topics that are likely to provoke conflict, or removing oneself from stressful surroundings whenever it is feasible to do so. It is often necessary to acquire the ability to say no or to walk away without feeling guilty. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that a significant portion of the things that irritate us are beyond our ability to control, but that we have the ability to defend ourselves from those things. Reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears, he stated somewhere in his writing. Your ability to protect your mental space enables you to reject emotional traumas that are not necessary. An additional component of this therapy is known as digital detox. The continual exposure to news, fights on social media, and harsh opinion in today's environment can all contribute to the development of rage. Maintaining your composure and ability to concentrate can be accomplished by consciously reducing the amount of time you spend in front of a screen or by carefully managing your digital surroundings. It is essential to note that limiting exposure does not imply evading responsibility or shutting oneself off from others. In other words, it is making a deliberate decision about where to focus your attention and energy. Creating an atmosphere in which you are able to think clearly, recharge your batteries, and keep your emotions in check is what it actually implies. You are able to construct a stronghold against unwarranted rage when you choose to safeguard your mental space. Your ability to respond with clarity and kindness rather than impatience and tiredness is enhanced as a result of this freedom. Therefore, pause for a moment to evaluate your environment and the relationships you have. Do you find that certain situations or persons tend to bring out your wrath on a regular basis? What limits are you able to establish in order to protect your tranquility? It is important to keep in mind that this is a crucial component of regard for yourself and your well-being. Number 11, reflect on your day. At day's end, take a moment to review your emotional responses. Journaling can be a powerful tool. Marcus Aurelius kept a personal journal reflecting on his thoughts and actions, a practice that sharpened his self-awareness. Ask yourself, when did I get angry? How did I handle it? What could I do differently next time? This reflection builds emotional intelligence and helps you grow stronger with each day. Meditation is an essential component of the Stoic route to achieving mastery over one's feelings. Meditations were not intended for other people. Rather, they were a private conversation that Marcus Aurelius had with himself. It was a way for him to get a better understanding of his personality, decisions, and responses. It was via this practice of nocturnal contemplation that he was able to maintain his alignment with his principles and consistently grow. If you make it a habit to analyze your emotional experiences on a daily basis, you can transform transitory sentiments into meaningful lessons. You are able to get insight into your tendencies and vulnerabilities so that you may identify the triggers that caused you to become angry and then assess how you responded to those triggers. Recording it in writing provides an additional layer of clarity. When thoughts are written down, the mind is slowed down and it becomes simpler to view circumstances objectively rather than through the cloud of emotion that they are surrounded by. Moreover, it generates a record that may be referred to in order to monitor progress over time. Make an effort to ask yourself a few important questions. Which circumstances caused you to become angry today? Do you know how intense my reaction was? Have I responded in a manner that I am pleased with, or is there opportunity for any further development? Which methods were successful in calming me down, and which ones would not work? The next time I go, what will I try? The ability to detect, comprehend, and effectively manage one's emotions is referred to as emotional intelligence, and it is developed through this process. With the passage of time, this intelligence will become your most effective barrier against unwarranted wrath. Seneca held the belief that the foundation of knowledge was first and foremost self-awareness. We should watch ourselves with care, he instructed us, because the only way for us to develop and progress is by being honest with ourselves and analyzing ourselves. Even if you don't keep a journal, investing a few minutes of quiet time before going to bed to reflect on the events of the day can have a significant improvement. This simple day-to-day routine helps to cultivate a mindset that is open to ongoing development and strengthens the muscle of self-control. Remind yourself that the objective is not perfection, but rather development. Reflecting on your feelings on a daily basis is a step toward gaining control of your feelings, lessening the impact of anger, and achieving a more peaceful way of life. Number 12, practice gratitude regularly. Focusing on what you're grateful for rewires your mind toward positivity. The Stoics practiced gratitude as a daily discipline. Seneca wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." Gratitude pulls your focus away from frustration and toward appreciation. Try listing 3 things you're thankful for every day. Over time, this simple habit can dramatically reduce your tendency to get angry over small things. Being grateful is more than merely saying thank you in a nice manner. You will experience a fundamental transformation in your mentality that will rewire your brain to perceive the positive, even while you are in the thick of difficulties. You are intentionally training your mind to focus on abundance rather than scarcity, on what is going well rather than what is going wrong, when you make thankfulness a regular practice. The Stoics had a profound understanding of this. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations about the beauty of life's ordinary moments, such as the warmth of the sun, the breath in his lungs, and the generosity of others. He did this to remind himself to be thankful for the simple fact that he was alive. The foundation of contentment that was established as a result of this appreciation served to shield him from being overpowered by feelings of wrath or resentment. Through the practice of cultivating appreciation, you can lessen the amount of mental space that anger takes up. You start to see the richness and complexity of life rather than being fixated on the things that irritate you. Because of this more expansive viewpoint, the edge of irritation is lowered. Experiment with a straightforward daily routine. Either in the morning or in the evening, jot down 3 things for which you are thankful. A kind word from a friend, a delicious dinner, or even just the capacity to take a deep breath are all examples of things that can be considered tiny. It is preferable to be as particular and personal as possible. By engaging in this exercise, you will be able to bring yourself back to the here and now and be reminded of the numerous blessings that you may otherwise overlook. Your emotional resilience can also be strengthened by practicing gratitude. When you are confronted with challenges in life, adopting an attitude of gratitude can assist you in maintaining your equilibrium and preventing you from falling into feelings of hopelessness or rage. It serves as a reminder that, despite many challenges, there is still a great deal to be grateful for. This age-old piece of knowledge is supported by research in contemporary psychology. Practicing thankfulness on a consistent basis has been shown to improve mood, lower stress levels, and improve general well-being, according to studies. In a literal sense, it reorganizes brain circuits in order to promote optimistic thinking. To prevent yourself from becoming angry, take a moment to pause and ask yourself, what is it that I can be thankful for right now? You can break the cycle of frustration and bring your mind back to a state of calm by shifting your attention in this manner. Through the practice of incorporating thankfulness into your daily routine, you can create a mental climate in which anger has a difficult time taking root. When we approach obstacles with patience, love, and calm, it becomes easier to accept them. Number 13. Make calmness your daily habit. The most profound transformation happens when calmness becomes part of your daily life. Start small. Set aside 5 minutes each day for mindfulness, meditation, or simply quiet reflection on your progress. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Be like the cliff against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it." Mastery of emotions isn't about never feeling anger. It's about responding differently, steadily, and with grace. This daily commitment builds a resilient mind that no trivial annoyance can shake. One of the most effective ways to gain emotional mastery is to make the practice of tranquility a daily habit. The Stoics held the belief that our brains are like gardens. If we tend to them on a regular basis, planting seeds of knowledge and patience, we can cultivate an inner tranquility that can withstand the storms that life throws at us. Even though 5 minutes might not seem like much, when done on a regular basis, it can have a significant impact. Utilize this time to sit quietly, concentrate on your breathing, or think on the emotional moments that occurred throughout the day. Allow these moments to serve as anchors throughout your day, bringing you to a place of calm and self-awareness through their presence. The metaphor of the cliff that Marcus Aurelius uses tells us that there will always be external turmoil, which may be thought of as waves of both challenges and provocations. However, if you keep your mind calm and collected, you won't let yourself be carried away. Strong and unfazed by every passing disruption, you maintain your position. It is not necessary to suppress your feelings or become emotionally apathetic in order to maintain this continuous peace. To cultivate the space between stimuli and response in order to make your actions intelligent rather than reactive is what it means to cultivate this space. According to Epictetus, no man is free who is not master of himself. What would you say? The way to assert that freedom is by consistent practice. You will be better prepared for situations in which anger would otherwise take control if you make the practice of calming a regular part of your routine. Comparable to the process of strengthening a muscle, the more powerful it becomes, the simpler it is to keep one's composure when being tested. Because of this habit, your brain will eventually be rewired to become more peaceful rather than angry or agitated, and this will become your default state. You will discover that even the most insignificant annoyances lose their potency, and even the most significant obstacles feel more bearable. Keep in mind that the process of achieving emotional mastery is a continuing adventure. When you make it a habit to give yourself time to be calm, you build your ability to be resilient, you develop your wisdom, and you strengthen your capacity to live with grace. So make it a point to make the practice of calmness a regular habit. A life of greater serenity and emotional freedom can be achieved by the accumulation of these seemingly insignificant practices, such as meditating for 5 minutes, practicing mindful breathing for a moment, or keeping a reflective journal. In spite of the fact that we all deal with the habit of becoming irritated about insignificant things, you don't have to let it control your life. You may retrain your mind to respond with calm and clarity by following these 13 steps, which are based on the wisdom of the Stoics. Always keep in mind the words of Marcus Aurelius. The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. Controlling other people or the events around you is not the path to peace. Rather, it is the mastery of one's own mind. Simply take things one moment at a time, and you will be amazed at how your life changes. I want to thank you for watching, and I want to wish you success on your path to conquering calm.